Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is for my students who are serving their LOA and not being able to come to school. So for the first week of the second term, we will be going through water and its changes of states. But before we continue, let's read the intention as usual. Okay, repeat after me. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I intend to reflect on Allah's greatness and be His humble servant. Amin. In primary 3, you have learned about the topic of matter, where you learn about solid, liquid and gas and its properties. Water also follow the same properties. Like water in solid form, you call it ice. And water in liquid form is normal water, and water in the gaseous state is called water vapor or steam. This slide is very important because it tells us why matter can change state. So the important thing is that heat is involved. Matter becomes hot when it gains heat and becomes cold when it loses heat. So when solid changes to liquid, for example, when ice melts into water, heat is involved. Ice gains heat and it melts. Same for when water freezes into ice. Because of the cold, it loses heat and water will freeze up. For this slide, just read and take note of the highlighted words. Same for this slide. Water also exists in the solid state, for example, icebergs, snow and hailstones, and even the ice cubes that we use in our drinks. If you don't know what are hailstones, they are what we call in Malay hujan batu. Water in the gaseous state, which is water in a state of gas, it can exist in two ways. Firstly, water vapor and steam. Don't make the mistake of saying it as the same thing. They are different. And why they are different, we will learn in the next few slides. As some of you might have remembered, we played the shaking game during class, and that is me trying to teach all of you about the water changing state. So if you remember when I said 0 degrees Celsius, that is when you all had to freeze. And only when I said 1 degree Celsius, that's when you start to move slowly. And that is actually you acting as ice melting into liquid. So when the temperature increases until it reaches 100 degrees Celsius, that is when water changes state to steam. That is liquid changing to gas, and that process is called boiling. So if we go the opposite way, when steam loses heat, it condenses. It goes through condensation to change into liquid. And when liquid freezes up, when it reaches 0 degrees Celsius, it turns back to ice. This is a repetition of the previous slide, but take note that water freezes into ice at 0 degrees Celsius, and this is called the freezing point of water. I repeat, 0 degrees Celsius is the freezing point of water. Now this is about melting. Melting is when ice turn into liquid, and the melting point is also 0 degrees Celsius. So at 0 degrees Celsius, water exists both as ice in the solid state and water in the liquid state. But what makes it different between melting and freezing is about gaining or losing heat. So when water is gaining heat, when ice is gaining heat, that is when melting occurs, gaining heat, remember. And when water is losing heat, it freezes up into ice. So the key word is gaining heat and losing heat. Now we move on to boiling. Boiling is when water is placed over a fire or something very hot. So as it continues to gain heat until it reaches 100 degrees Celsius, that is when water starts to boil and change state from liquid to gas. This gas is called steam. Steam is different from water vapor. How is it different? Steam is when water changes from liquid to gas at 100 degrees Celsius. Remember, at 100 degrees Celsius, water in the liquid form changes to steam. And 100 degrees Celsius is the boiling point of water. If you have observed a glass of cold drink, when you leave it on table, water droplets start to form on the outside of the glass, correct? So this is actually water vapor from the surroundings condensing to water droplets. This process is called condensation. So when water vapor that is in the gaseous state, it changes into liquid when it touches the cold surface of the glass. Remember, water vapor condenses on the cold surface of the glass. Remember, condensation is due to water vapor losing heat. So it makes sense when water vapor touches the cold surface of the cold glass, it condenses. Water can change to water vapor even without boiling. That means if water is not at 100 degrees Celsius, it can still change to gaseous state. Water can change to gaseous state, which is water vapor, even though the temperature of the water is lesser than 100 degrees Celsius. How this happen? This happen because water gains heat from the surroundings and rise in temperature, which allows the water in liquid form to change to gaseous state water vapor. If you remember about boiling, boiling is when water changes to steam at 100 degrees Celsius. For evaporation, water can evaporate into water vapor at any temperature below its boiling point. So remember this point, the difference between water vapor and steam. So I repeat, water changes to steam at 100 degrees Celsius, which is the boiling point, and water can evaporate at any temperature to water vapor.